Yes, I have come to testify. No one can do the things you do.
Coming to you with a testimony. It will hurt. He will let it hurt you. Just wanted to share that testimony with you because it is quite a testimony, okay? Not with the budget I had.
Come on, stand up on your feet and say, we testify. We celebrate.
Hello princes and princesses, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for tuning in. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed already and make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss a video. I know I have been gone for some time now and I'm sorry, but it's been a long time. It's been a hard time. It's been a hard year. I just needed to focus on me. Although I was editing video, although I actually filmed some videos like I always do, I just didn't feel in my heart to put things out there. I'm not the kind of person that does things just to do things. I just really needed to focus on me and take the time to do me. Now I'm back. Let's just get into today's video. Today's video, as you can tell by the title, is my testimony, my story moving out to Toronto. I moved to Toronto in 2013. Today I just wanted to share that testimony with you because it is quite a testimony, okay? A lot of you guys know that I moved there for school. A lot of you don't. A lot of you, including my family members, do not know the things that I endured and how much that experience shaped my faith, helped me grow in my Christian journey, helped me grow as a person. You know, during this time, these past few months, these past few weeks, like I said, it's been a hard time. And in the midst of everything that happened to me since last year and everything I was going through, everything I had to deal with in terms of last year being my last year of uni and all that, I kind of started losing sense of why I started Daughter of the Most High, of why God entrusted me with this vision. I spoke about it at the beginning of the year, but it didn't really get resolved. It finally did. Part of the reason why I had this this burden on my heart to start something, a Christian blog, a Christian YouTube channel, there are a few now, but why I had this burden in my heart is to just share God's love, God's grace through my story, and pray that the Holy Spirit will touch someone who was about to give up, who lost hope, because I was there, I was in a dark place for a long time in my life, and listening to other people's testimonies, listening to other people's lessons, mistakes, stories of hopes and restoration and how God picked them up from dirt and things like that helped me a lot. Part of the reason why I started Daughter of the Most High, why I really felt pushed by the Spirit to start this movement, to start this community, this family, was to share God's love, God's grace, God's compassion through my stories, through my testimonies, the lessons that life is teaching me, and also just to have this conversation with you about a bunch of other things like beauty and fashion and things like that, things that I love, things that, you know, I enjoy and that we can still enjoy and partake in as Christians and remain pure. So today I'm coming to you with a testimony. We testify. And today we're testifying the whole entire month. The whole entire month of November, actually, I will be sharing different testimonies, different stories, and then in December we will see what we're gonna be doing. I moved out, like I said, to Toronto in 2013, August 2013. Why did I, you know, just to put you in context, why did I move to Toronto? Like, school is so much more expensive over there, life is so much more expensive over there, just because since I was 16 years old, I wanted to move to Toronto. I don't know, I have a thing for big cities, I guess. I just wanted to have that feel of living in a bigger city, being on my own and doing my own thing. And York University, because I'm a York alumni, hey, what's up? York University is pretty well renowned for their international studies program, international relations and things of the sort. I majored in political science. I started in international studies, and then I switched to political science and did a certificate in law and social thought. Those are fields that they're really well known for. They have some of the best professors, some of the best research teams and things like that. I just started dreaming of moving to Ontario. At first, it wasn't for the reasons that I told you. I really just wanted to be on my own, and I was choosing, I was debating between Toronto and Ottawa. I applied to Ottawa and Toronto, and the sign that I was supposed to go to Toronto is that Carleton waitlisted me, which is like a refusal. And so I was turned down by Carleton. I didn't get in, and York took me. My first choice was actually University of Toronto, but I started my application process too late, and I thought to myself, oh, later along the line I will apply. But I ended up just falling in love with Glendon because I did a bilingual BA, and I went to the bilingual campus, the smaller campus, and I just fell in love with that place. Is magical. It's like a castle, and I just fell in love with the place. I fell in love with everything, and I just stayed to Glendon. And so yeah, I wanted to leave. Since I was 16, I was like, I'm going to Toronto, I'm gonna leave, blah blah blah. It was really complicated. My parents were not listening, they were not into it. Finally, at 20 years old, I convinced them, and in 2013 I left. 2021 in August 2013 I went to Toronto with a good friend of mine. Shout out to Nathan, you're the real MVP. To go look for an apartment. It was really last minute, and I was not educated on rent, on living conditions in Ontario. I did not know about these basement apartment situations. I thought I was gonna find a nice thing in a nice building downtown. So no. Not with the budget I had. So I started looking at like apartment complex, and that was out of the question. I found a few, they were too small, so I started looking at basement apartments, and the conditions were crazy, and I just wasn't feeling it. The day that I was leaving, that's also another sign that God was with me in this. The day that I was leaving, I was desperate actually. The morning that we were supposed to leave to come back to Montreal, I was desperate because I wanted to make sure that I had a place to come back to in September. I was looking at the newspaper, totally just desperate, and I found this ad for a basement apartment, and it wasn't too far from Glendon, and it wasn't far at all from the main campus, from York. It was 12 minutes bus ride from the main campus. I called and I went there. It was a nice little family. The lady, my ex-landlord, she fell in love with me. We started talking. I was telling her that I was from Montreal, I was coming there for uni, and I wanted a safe place, and she just fell in love with me, and she was like, we want someone like you, and I'm happy that it's a girl because I have a young girl here, and you know, I want to make sure that my kids are safe, and you seem like a very good person. She really was strong on energies and things like that. So she's like, I love your energy, I love your aura, I want you get it. She did not even go through like all these paperwork references, yada yada yada. Do you have a job? I did not have a job. I had my dad, and she was like, you know what, we're good. They just made photocopies of my IDs. I paid the first and last month. I paid the first, and when I went back to Montreal, I sent the money for the last, because you have to pay first and last. And that's it. I got my first apartment. Let's just rewind. Another sign that, you know, God was with me, but I wasn't getting it yet. I wasn't sure. I thought I was doing this on my own. When I applied to university, I brought my application to my pastor at the time, Pastor Fidel. Thank you very much for your prayers. I did not bring Carleton's application for some reason. I don't know if I forgot. I don't know what happened. I just remember only bringing York. I brought my application file. I gave it to him. I told him, remember I told you guys that I was going to apply to uni, to Ottawa and Toronto, and here's my application, can we please pray about it? And he just looked at me and just had this smirk, and he was like, why are you worried? Everything's gonna work out good. He told me in French, pourquoi tu t'inquiètes, tout va bien aller. And I was like, well, je m'inquiète parce que, boy, you know, my last the year before, the year that I applied to Toronto, my grades weren't the best because my life was in total shambles. So I was worried. Because I know I'm smart, I know I'm a good student, but I made some really dumb choices at some point in my life, and I neglected a year and a half or so. So my in CJAP, my grades weren't the best at that time, but I had the grades that I needed to go to apply. And he said, don't worry, everything's gonna be fine. And he prayed, and he did a really short prayer. I thought he was gonna cast demons away, he was gonna break chains and rebuke things and destroy the enemy's plans and the enemy's agenda and pour the blood of Jesus. None of that. He did none of that. He did like a 2 minutes prayer, a really short and sweet prayer, and I was like, is he taking me seriously? Or but I honor his faith, and he was right. Things did work out good. Things did work out in the end, for my good. It was in like the beginning of the year, I think February, and then in like April, something like that, I got my reply, and I was happy, blah blah. So in August, after I came back from a trip, I found my apartment, came back to Montreal, started packing, went to Toronto. Just a quick disclaimer, I am not saying these things just because I want to, you know, tell you my life. If it was the case, you would have been aware of everything happening in my life in real time when it was happening, and you will know all these details by now. The reason why I am sharing these things, and some of these things are really personal, and some people might be mad at me at some point when this video comes out, but I know I need to share this. I know someone needs to hear it, because I honestly have been strengthened, encouraged from hearing other people's stories like this, stories of faith and what God can do, and how he always surprises us when, you know, we lose hope, and he always gives us a new reason to thank him. And that's why I'm sharing these things. Some of these are quite personal or embarrassing. I don't know, for some. For me, it's not. I'm not ashamed to say what God did in my life. So my parents, being the good parents and the very organized parents that they are, had funds for us for when we move away. Everything was good. We're not rich, but we never lacked anything, and we've often had way more than, you know, what we needed or wanted. We have been pretty blessed. So I went there. My father was like, you're not taking a loan because I don't want you to have debts when you get out of uni. I don't want you to start your life with a debt. Everything is covered. Everything was supposed to be covered. But see, the enemy likes to play with you. But what he forgets is that my God is bigger, my God is stronger, and he makes everything work for our good. When I was moving to Toronto, my dad was in Dubai. Things happened. He lost a lot of money. A lot of money. A lot. Being, you know, blessed as we were, it was not that big of a deal yet. Business was still good, and he was still able to pay my rent and give me pocket money and things like that. But I was accustomed, I was used to a lifestyle of spending a lot. Saving was not in my vocabulary. I was not aware that he had lost that money. So when he would send me money, I will not save it. I'll pay my rent, pay my bill, and go shopping. Because why not? I started realizing that usually when I would ask my dad for money, he would send me maybe double, triple of the amount that I would ask him for, and he would send it like almost right away. But September, October, November of that year, when I would ask for, say, $500, I would get $500. It didn't ring a bell yet. God allowed these things to happen. I believe I'm part of the reason why God allowed my dad to lose that money, because he wanted to shape my character. He wanted to teach me things that I might have never learned. Had this thing not happened, I would have been such a burden to my husband. Thankfully enough to God and to my dad, such a hardworking person, and my mom, they were able to still provide for us, and we were still comfortable. But like I said, I wasn't getting it, and I didn't have this sense of, you know, managing money while saving. Although I started working so young, so you would think that I would know how to do these things, but no, I didn't. I would spend and spend and spend, and at some point things really started to get really hard. And there are moments where, you know, not only was I still dealing with anxiety a little bit, I felt really lonely. And I'm someone, I keep to myself. When I have things going on, when I don't feel well, I keep to myself. Oh, and I forgot, when I moved to Toronto, I moved in the middle of chaos in my personal life. Something had happened that year in regards to someone I was dating, which led to me having to confess about the situation. And the people that were involved, you know, people did not believe me and things like that. So I was a victim of my own stupidness, of my own, of being so naive and just seeing the good in people. And I was crushed, I was broken, and I was moving to Toronto in the midst of that. And every time I would come back to Montreal, because I did come back every 2 weeks or so, I was not well. Mentally, emotionally, I was not well at all. But I'm the kind of person, when you ask me, are you okay? Even if it's written not okay on my forehead, I will say, I'm good. I keep to myself a lot, and it was heavy. It was really hard going through that, and then realizing that money's not coming in as much as it's used to. And I'm someone, I worry a lot about my parents. It's weird. I'm gonna be one of those kids, when they get old, they're gonna be my babies. And you know, I started sensing that they were worrying about how they're gonna continue to provide for the lifestyle that we were used to. It was heavy, and I started feeling very lonely. I started feeling very alone, and there were days where I would just sit in the living room and be like,
why did I come here? Did God allow me to come here?
I really started asking myself whether God was in it or not. It was hard. It was really hard. And I was new in the faith. I gave my life to Christ the year before. So I was still a spiritual baby. I had not grown that much yet. Some of you in 6 months can grow a lot, but it took me a longer time to grow. And in that period, I was still a baby. The fact that I was a spiritual baby didn't help my case. And I started doubting. I was telling myself, okay, I'm gonna stay here for a year, and then I'm gonna go back to Montreal. So that way, at least I can get a job, because I grew up in Montreal, and being in CEGEP and working, I actually at some point was going to CEGEP full-time and working full-time. So I'm gonna be able to do that. My dad did not want me to work at all. He didn't want to hear the word work. He said, uni is not a joke, focus on uni. But I couldn't even focus. So 2013 passed and 2014 started. I got sick in the beginning of the year. I got really sick. And I missed quite a chunk of that semester. Thankfully, in uni, you don't always have to go to class. So I was able to get notes, to still follow through with my syllabus and do some of the work being in my bed. And I still managed to pass my first year of uni with quite good grades. So 2014, I went to Africa, came back, blah, blah, blah. So that year I told myself, okay, this year I am applying to go back to continue uni in Montreal and finish in Montreal. And I started praying. I started asking God which university and what program was I supposed to go to. There was Concordia, UQAM, UDM. So Concordia, University of Quebec in Montreal, and Université de Montréal. Those were my three choices. My three choices. God was not having it. I started praying. Every time I would pray, I would have a dream. I started praying for Concordia. I didn't really have a specific dream. I just felt that it was my place, at least not at the time. I started praying for UDM and UQAM, and I had a dream that I was at UQAM. There was a shooting. People around me were falling like flies. They were dying, but no bullets was touching me. There would be someone right next to me get shot, die on the spot, someone here, someone behind me, but I was not being touched. But I was still, you know, panicked, and I was trying to get out of there. And then a man came and was like, what are you doing here? This is not your place. Mais qu'est-ce que tu fais ici? T'es pas censé être ici. You're not supposed to be here. And he was so mad at me for being there, and I was just like, okay, well, get me out of here. And he would get me out of there. And while he's getting me out, and we're walking, you know, through people just getting shot, and nobody's touching us. I was like, well, maybe God doesn't want me to go to UQAM. I continued praying, focusing on UDM, asking God what program, and I was really into my research and things. And then I had the same dream. I was at UDM. We were like in a gymnasium or a cafeteria, I don't remember, but in like a open place in the university. And same thing, shooting, people dying left and right behind me, in front of me. And a man came again and was like,
"What are you doing here? This is not your place. You were not supposed to be here."
He was pissed at me for being there and held my hand and took me out. And while we're walking through people are being shot and things, and we're not being touched. And I understood that God did not want me to go back to Montreal yet. I was supposed to finish in Toronto. He had something to do with me. The school year 2014-2015, I was a wreck because that's when money became really, really tight. There are days where I would have to choose between going to school, paying my fare, being a good citizen, or having food in my fridge. And being the foodie that I am, I often choose food. I'm so sorry. I do not encourage anyone not to pay their fare, okay? But the way the public transit is made in Toronto, it kind of allows you to do that. And I lived in a different zone. So for those of you who are from Montreal, it's like you live in Brossard or Laval and you study in Montreal, you have to pay 2 fares going and coming back. And public transit is more expensive in Toronto than it is here in Montreal. So if here you think it's expensive, imagine what it is over there. So I would tell God, I'm sorry, but I need to eat. I can't study on an empty stomach, yo. So this fare's gotta have to wait until next week. I'm gonna step out in faith and hope I don't get caught. I will buy me my food for the week or 2 weeks and then just go to school out in faith. And some days I felt so bad that I actually didn't attend lectures, and some of my lecturers thought that I was just this careless girl who didn't care about her studies, but I was broken. I was so hurt, I'm like, this is me? Like, I have to choose between food and paying my fare, and sometimes I will pay fare, but I could only afford one fare. I couldn't pay both zones. And you would ask me, your parents, why didn't you ask your parents? So my dad would send me money for my rent, for my everything, blah blah. I knew that money was tight, and my sister being alone in Montreal, being younger than me, I felt, I had more needs. And I felt like I was a woman and a grown girl and I could take care of myself. I don't know what was the accent, but that's how I felt. When money would run out, I wouldn't call him right away. I would just manage. And sometimes things were good. And some months it was so hard. Toronto being so expensive, sometimes I would tell him actually a smaller amount than what I truly needed, because I knew he took care of almost everything. My mom with her business helped and stuff, but he has always been the main provider. He's asked my mom to stop working and support him. She had a business in Africa and things like that, but he's always been the main provider, and we've never lacked anything. We've actually had really good life. Bref, je voulais pas déranger. Like I told you, I worry a lot about my parents, and I knew that things were hard. So I said, you know what, I can manage. I'm gonna manage. One of the ways I manage is not paying my fare. It helped me have my food and still go to school. I was confused, like, God, you want me to stay here, but money's like this, and then my spiritual life is not what, I felt it was supposed to be. And that's when I started really seeking God more. We still stumble here and there, but that's really when I started seeking God a lot more. 2014 ended. And then 2015 started. I ended that year, good grades as well. I was indebted at school because, like I said, my dad had to pay my tuition. We had everything planned, but he lost the money, and I had not applied for AFE yet. And when I started my process, it was so complicated, guys. Every time, for 2 years, 3 years, when I sent something, I was told everything is fine, we have everything you need, and then I'll get a letter telling me that I'm missing a document. And when I would call to make sure that they received everything I resent, they would tell me it's fine, we have everything we need. And then I would get a letter telling me they're missing something. It was like this until 2017. So in 2015 I was indebted at school. I owed school tuition money. Oh yeah, prior to that already, I owed school some money, and in order to be enrolled, we had to pay some money. Had to pay money and take a payment arrangement. So that took care of that. We paid the money and I was able to enroll for the school year 2014-2015. And 2015, he wasn't able to. Unfortunately, things were so hard and we had to prioritize things, so I couldn't attend school. That is something that I haven't told a lot of you guys, but one of the reasons why I graduated in 2018 and not 2017 is because things got so hard at some point that I actually couldn't go to school. If you know me, you know how much I love school, you know how much my studies are important for me and how much I love my parents and how much my studies, our studies, are important to them. And I knew that they were hurt and they were crushed. So that year, which is actually September that I was supposed to go back to school, is a September that I finally accepted to start Daughter of the Most High, because God had been putting it in my heart, but I was just like, no, I ain't gonna do that. And I finally started it because I understood what he was calling me to do, and it was the time. I started Daughter of the Most High. It helped me grow because in order to share my stories with you and things like that, I don't just go there and share my stories. I also read my Bible, and I had to start studying my Bible a little bit more. I had to start praying a little bit more to understand how God speaks to me and discern when he speaks to me. So I wasn't able to attend school. Was it 2015? Oh no, not 2015, sorry, 2016. In 2015, I started school in October. Let's just rewind. So I started Daughter of the Most High because I understood what God was telling me to do. I started in September and I thought I wasn't going to go to school, and God provided. So my dad was able to pay part of the amount that we were previously owing and take a payment arrangement, pay the year that we were owing and take a payment arrangement for the new year, because they wouldn't let me in if, you know, we were not able to demonstrate that we were going to pay. And so I explained, sent a letter to the uni, told them that I applied for a student loan and that my file was in process, and I was admitted finally, and I started school late in October. And if you go to uni or went to uni, you know that if school starts in the beginning of September and you start attending late in October, you're missing the chunk. But I did it. I still did it. So 2015, 2016, I went to school. Things were still very hard, but I started working. Finally, he allowed me to work. I started working, so I was able to assist them with my needs. He was still paying my rent, but I would take care of everything else. Internet, my phone, my personal needs, clothes, food, my bus pass, my travels back and forth to Montreal. Sometimes they would assist me, mom and dad, but mainly he would just pay my rent and I would take care of everything else, so I didn't have to not pay my fare anymore. And so the year ended, we were not able to honor that payment arrangement because it was still the same song with AFE. I was always missing something. Something was always mysteriously missing. When I spoke to someone, they told me everything was there. And it was hard, y'all. We've prayed. For some of you who applied to AFE and got your loan, it's like, what are you talking about? You were probably missing something. No, I'm telling you, I was giving them everything they were asking me. You know how it works. It tells you the document you need to submit. And if something is ambiguous or whatever, you call and you speak to someone. I spoke to a human being like you and me who spoke French and English and told me everything was fine. And all of a sudden, things were missing. I was going back and forth with AFE, and that was exhausting and it was frustrating. And one day I was sitting in 2016 on my staircase and I just threw my phone at the wall because I was so pissed. And the girl on the phone was so rude, and I was like, God, you told me I'm supposed to stay here. How am I gonna stay here? How am I gonna go to school if I don't have the money? And it started being even more hard financially. Dad could not pay my rent and pay all the other charges that he was paying. Mom was helping, but like I said, Dad has always been the main provider. So I was owing rent. Thank God for my landlords. They're a blessing. When I tell you, when God is in it, he will make things work. And even if that puzzle doesn't make sense and you don't know how the pieces are going to come together, they end up coming together. And when you're in the midst of that chaos, look at the good things, the things that this isn't supposed to play out like that, but it's playing out like that because God wants you there, and he's making sure that this is kept intact. Look at the things that this can't be. This can't normally be. It's impossible. It's happening for you. That is God telling you, I'm with you. I just need you to trust me more. I know I'm allowing you to go through these things. One of these things is my landlords. The amount of money I was owing at that point in 2016, they should have kicked me out. They should have kicked me out. But they didn't. That's God who touched them. That is God. The fact that, from the minute she saw me, she's like, I like you. And she always told her husband, no, let her stay there. That is God. The school, to a payment arrangement not being honored, owing the money that I owed. Tuition is expensive in Toronto. They still allowed me to go into another year. That is God. It doesn't happen. And the girl that I was speaking with through email was telling me, we don't do this and that. And I explained my situation and I pleaded, and they were like, okay, fine. And they did it. That is God. That was God telling me, I'm with you in this. I need you to trust me more. I need to build your faith. I need to build your character. I need you to stand up in prayer. I need you to realize that I'm going to make things work for you. I'm allowing you to go through these things for a reason. But I wasn't getting it just yet. And so I continued praying. In 2016, I lost both my grandmothers at the end of the year. That did not help my case. It was really, really hard. Around that time, that's really when I started praying. The year 2016 is really when I really started growing. After school ended, I really started praying, and I started building my character and working on myself, discovering who I wanted to be, what I was called to, partaking in youth Christian activities and things like that. And that's when I did my first public speaking engagement with Boca Cosmetics, Georgia. And I really started growing as a person, as a Christian in my faith. I was still praying for the situation with AFE and things like that. The beginning of 2017, after we came back from burying my grandma in Africa, I'm running out of battery. I'm forcing this right now. So what I was saying is, finally AFE replied, and they gave me money for my past mes demandes précédentes, my past applications, and I was able to pay what I was owing in school, pay my landlord what I was owing them, and pay rent in the future. Gave some money to my Lord to say thank you, and I was able to buy myself a few things just to, celebrate. And God provided, and God started providing, and I started school again in the summer, and I was able to finish school. Unfortunately, the school went on strike, and it was complicated, and the devil wanted to destroy me again. But at this point, my faith was already tough, was already built, and I pushed through, and I graduated in June 2018. The reason why I wanted to put this out there are other details that I, would have loved to go into, but it would have made the video too long, and I'm running out of battery. I just wanted to tell you that when God is in it, you're in it to win it. When God is with you, you cannot fail. When God is behind a project, behind something, it will always succeed. No matter how dark things get, no matter how crazy of a mess it turns into, it will turn out beautiful. I don't know if you've seen videos of like painters painting on like glass and how messy it is, and then it happens to be this beautiful portrait of like nature landscape. That's what God does. Like when he's doing it, it looks a mess, but at the end, it's such a beautiful portrait. So I just want to encourage someone to trust God. I just want to encourage someone, when when God has showed you, when God has told you that he is in it with you, do not give up. When God is in it with you, you cannot fail. It will get tough, it will get hard, but you cannot fail. He says in Jeremiah 29:11, I know the plans for you. I have plans to prosper you, to give you hope in the future. He's not in it to harm you. It will hurt. He will let it hurt you. He will not stop the hurt. He will not stop the pain. He will allow you to go through that hurt. He will allow you to go through that pain. But he reminds you that he knows the plans. He knows what he has in store for you. He says, I'll say it in French. Mes voix ne sont pas vos voix, mes pensées ne sont pas vos pensées. Autant les cieux sont levés au-dessus de la terre, mes pensées sont levées au-dessus de celles des hommes. His ways, his thoughts are not yours. He knows what he's doing, and what he does is the best for you. So just trust him. I learned to trust him, and right now I'm still going through my own little mess, through my own little chaos. Maybe next year I'll testify about it, or in 5 years. But I've learned in that season to trust him, and I think it prepared me to stand firm in my faith through what I'm going through right now. My faith is stronger, my faith is bigger, and I want to encourage you not to give up. Trust God more, pray more, have faith. Even if you don't understand, just remind him the promises that he has for us, the promises that he made us in the Bible, and things will work out good if he's in it with you and you know it. Do not lose hope. I hope this video blessed someone. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next video. Be blessed, guys.
My testimony. The testimony. I don't I'm you. Mommy go give me I dance the my testimony. The testimony. Yeah, oh my boy, I'm you.